Welcome to our class on Chassidus. We're going to be learning a beautiful Chassidic discourse in the Rebbe. The name of the Chassidic discourse is called Bereshis Bara. The Rebbe said this Chassidic discourse on Shabbos Parshas Bereshis, which is the 24th day of the month of Tishri, which is also the Shabbos that blessed the month of Mrchashon, in the year Tafshin Mem Daled 40 years ago. So again, the Chassidic discourse is based on the verse that says, Bereshis Bara Alkim es Hashemayim es Haaretz. In the beginning, Hashem created the heaven and the earth. So the Rebbe brings from the Rebbe Marash, the fourth Chabad Rebbe, which in that year when the Rebbe said the Chassidic discourse, it was at 101 years of his passing. So now it would be 141 years from his passing. And we know the Rebbe Marash, his theme was L'chatchila Ariber. To begin with, go over the top. And as normally you go one step at a time, and if you have issues, you jump. The Rebbe Marash says, always jump, go to the next level, go off the charts. That was his theme, L'chatchila Ariber. And so he has a Chassidic discourse with this title of Bereshis Bara in the year Taf Reish Lamed. And Rebbe said it's brought down this idea in many, many places as well, that he explains the verse, that what does it mean, Bereshis Bara? That the verse is telling us when Hashem originally created the world, He created the heaven and the earth, and everything was created when Hashem originally created the world. Now, so if that's the case, Rebbe says 1 second. And something's not understood, like Rashi himself asked the question. Why does it say Bereshis, like as if in the beginning, this is the order of creation? It should have said Bereshis in the beginning, Bray Elekim, God created. Or B'Rishayno, in the beginning Hashem created. Why does he use the term Bereshis? So he explains in that Chassidic discourse that you could possibly say that before Hashem created all the details that it lists out in all the days of creation, what is he telling us first? Bereshis bara Elokim, what did Hashem create? He's telling us about the creation of all the 10 Sefirot in the world of Atzilus, that they were also created in the beginning, something from nothing. So later on in the days, he tells us the detail of the actual creation. But over here in this verse, the first verse, Hashem is telling us about the creation of the 10 Sefirot, namely Chachma, Bina, Das, Chesed, Gevura, Tiferes, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, the way they exist, we're in the world of Atzilus. What does that mean? That even Chachma of Atzilus, the highest world, the first Sefirah, if we count Chachma as the first, was created something from nothing, and it's insinuated in this verse. And like and we know the verse says, "V'hachachma me'ayin timatzei." Chachma was created something from nothing, and it's created something from nothing in reference to the infinite light of Hashem. Up to the point, the Marash says, that even Ak, which is a very, very high level, Adam Kadmon, the primordial man, is also called a creation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Why? Because when it comes to the infinite and the essence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Atzmusa Yumusius Baruch, everything was created something from nothing. And the creation of the Sefirot are hinted and spelled out in this verse. So again, just to recap, what the Rebbe is bringing down for the Rebbe Marash is teaching us is that the opening verse of Bereshis bara Alkim es Hashemayim es Haaretz, what does that mean? He later spells out everything that was created. Because over here he's telling us about that the Sefirot of the world of Atzilus, starting with Chachma, everything was created from God, something from nothing. And as he mentioned, not only the Sefirot, but even Adam, Kadmon is created something from nothing. And he goes on to explain, and Rebbe says, it's important to know this, that this insight is already written, and it's based on a Chassidic discourse from the Alter Rebbe, the first Chabad Rebbe, the Mittel Rebbe, the second Chabad Rebbe, in his classical works called Teres Chaim, and of the Tzemach Tzedek, his classic works, Ora Torah. And the Rebbe Marash explains, again, this is the point to bring out, that's also mentioned in the Alter Rebbe, Mittel, the Tzemach Tzedek, and obviously now the Rebbe Marash, that Bereshis, when the word Bereshis in the first verse is referring to what Sefirah Chachma. Like we know it says, Reishis Chachma. Chachma is the beginning. Now, if that's the case, if Reishis is referring to Chachma, so why say Bereshis? What's the extra base? And Rebbe explains, the Rebbe Marash explains, the reason why he says Bereshis, because Beis means two. There's two levels of Chachma. There's the higher level of Chachma, and there's the lower level of Chachma. What's the lower level of Chachma? That's the way Malchus, the last of the Sefirah, Chachma Tata, is included in Chachma Ilah. So again, Bereishis is referring to Chachma. Bereishis is two levels of Chachma. Chachma on its own, and B, the way Malchus is with part of Chachma Ilah. And that's just like that we know that the letter Yud, which is just a letter, is referring to what? Chachma. Now, the letter Yud, when you think about it, it's a Yud, it's a dot. When you write it, it's a dot. But when you say Yud, you can't say Yud, you're not saying Yud, you're saying Yud. That means you're filling in extra letters. What are the extra letters that you're filling in? You're filling in a Vav and a Daled. So Yud is numerically 10, Vav and Daled, Vav is 6, and Daled is 4, so it's another numerical of 10, which is also referring to Chachma. What part of Chachma? That's the way it's filled out, which is referring to Malchus, the way it's found in a concealed way in Chachma. You have the revealed Malchus, where it's its own Sefirah, but then you have Malchus, where it's part of Chachma. So Bereishis is referring to what? Chachma, two levels of Chachma, Chachma on its own, and the way the Sefirah is specifically Malchus is part of Chachma. And what does he say afterwards? Es Hashemayim, the heaven and the earth, and he explains, Shemayim is referring to all the emotions, on high of Atzilus. Oretz is referring to Malchus, which is a standalone Sefirah. So based on this, he explains the verse, Bereishis bar Elkim, that in the beginning Hashem created all the 10 Sefirahs. Bereishis, again, the Sefirah of Chachma, the way it's on its own, the way Malchus is part of Chachma, Shemayim, all the emotions, and Oretz referring to Malchus. So Rebbe says, 1 second, we have to understand, because we find in Tosefta and Zohar, from the Kabbalah and Parshas Bereishis, it says like this. He explains the verse a little differently in reference to the 10 Sefirahs. So the Zohar also says the 10 Sefirahs were created in beginning, and it's mentioned in the verse, but he lists it out differently. And how does he list it out? And he says like this. Bereishis is referring to Chachma. Okay, so far we're good. Bara, he says, referring to what? Keser. Elokim is referring to Bina. Es is referring to Chesed and Gvura. Hashemayim, which we said before, is all the emotions, is only Tiferes. The Es is referring to Netzach Chod Yesod. And Aretz is referring to Malchus. That's the way the Zohar lists it out. So a different listing. So Rebbe says, 1 second, we have to understand why is it that in the Chassidic discourses, it's listed differently the way it says in the Zohar. So the Rebbe says, seemingly you can say that it's different midrashim that have a different listing, and it also affects like the essence of the flow. And in other words, in Zohar he explains that Bereishis is referring to Keser. So in other words, that if Bereishis is also referring to Keser, that means what was created something from nothing. Keser was also created something from nothing. However, in the Chassidic discourse, it says Bereishis is only referring to Chachma. That's the only that's created something from nothing. But how can you say that? How can you say that that according to the Chassidus, the only thing that was the first one that's created something from nothing is only Chachma. Keser is not created something from nothing. Because the fact is, the Rebbe Marash mentioned before in the Maimer that even Adam Kadmon Ak, which is higher than Keser, has created something from nothing. So how much more so Keser has created something from nothing? So therefore, you have to say that the argument is only the way you connect the different spheres in the word in the words of the verse. But then if that's the case, what's the difference between the way Chassidus learns it and the way it's brought down in the Zohar? And Rebbe says obviously you have to look into this, and this is not the time to go into the minute differences between each. But obviously in the global idea, they're all agreeing to the same thing, that the beginning is referring to the first verse is referring to the creation of the Sefirot, of the world of Atzilus. They were all created in the beginning, starting obviously from Ak and Keser and Chachma and all the Midos, etc. They have their own way of interpreting which word is referring to what Sefirah, but again, that's a different discussion, like Rebbe says. And based on this, Rebbe explains, that's why he says Bereishis bara. In other words, in the beginning Hashem created. That before he starts telling us of the full creation of the whole world and everything that's inside, so first he tells about what? The creation of the 10 spheres of Atzilus. Why? Because the Sefirot, like it's explained in Kabbalah, is like a workman that goes to build a house. You need tools. You're building a table, you need tools. So the tools Hashem used to create the world is the 10 spheres of Atzilus, and that's why he starts at first with the 10 spheres of Atzilus. And this is like it's explained in the Chassidic discourse, why he starts off, before he tells us of the creation of the world and everything that's in the world, he has to tell us about the 10 Sefirot. In other words, what's the issue? Because the question is, how is it that from Hashem, who's Achdus Pshuta, he's oneness, how do you create all these different materialistic things? So that's why he starts up and tells us about creating the Sefirot, because the different creations in the world all come from the different Sefirot. But Rebbe says, 1 second, we still have to understand. What's the question? The fact is, what are we answering? The reason why he tells about the Sefirot is because we have an issue. Because how does the infinite God, which is totally oneness, create all these different things in the world? What's the answer? He uses the Sefirot. Beautiful. So the Rebbe says this takes away the issue of understanding how the world was created. The world is created not directly from the infinite God, but through the Sefirot. But the question is, how from the infinite God was it created Sefirot? Now, if you're going to say how did Hashem do it? Because Hashem can do anything. He's not limited that he can't create a finite Sefirot. So if that's the case, he could have created a finite world also. Why do you need the Sefirot specifically? Now, obviously we need to look into it, and this is not the time to go into that discussion, but the main point is that Hashem originally created the Sefirot, and through that, he created the world. Okay. He goes on to explain as follows. The verse in the Rebbe Marash, the verses in the beginning of the Berashit. What does it say? V'haretz haisas sayu. The world was void. In other words, how did Hashem create the world? That in the beginning he created Toyu, the world of chaos. What was the world of Toyu? There was too much light, the vessels couldn't handle it, and what happens when you have too much light, too much energy, and the vessels can't handle it, the vessels break. And Rebbe says you can add, and that's why it says, V'choshech al pnei sahoim. It was dark over the abyss, over the chaos. Why? What is darkness referring to? The breaking of the vessels. If you have a vessel and you put in too much light and the vessels break, what do you have? You have light? You don't have light anymore. You have darkness. So that was the first thing. There was toyu, there was chaos because there was too much light and the vessels couldn't handle it, and because of that there was darkness. And then Hashem says, Elkim should be light. What's light? It's referring to the light of Tikkun. That's where every light fits into the vessel. Every vessel has the appropriate amount of light that went into it. In other words, when you have Tikkun, which means the light fills the vessel and it's an appropriate measurement, we transform and we elevate not only the sparks that have to be of the world of Atzilus, but even the sparks of Toyu that fell down into the world of Bria, Yetzira, Asiya. In the darkness of this world, through Tikkun, we're able to transform and elevate even a higher level of Toyu. Toyu was higher than Tikkun. But through Tikkun, you can actually elevate Toyu. And by elevating and transforming Toyu, we elevate the sparks higher and even higher than Atzilus. And like it's known in reference to the different transformations. So before we go into this next part of transformation, I want to give an introduction, because we're going to go into some Kabbalistic stuff. So let me give an introduction as follows. We know that Hashem's name, Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey. That's Hashem's powerful name. We don't pronounce it. So Yud is, every one of these letters we know has a numerical value. Yud is 10. Hey has 5. Vav is 6. And Hey is 5. That's God's name. Now, when you take God's name, you can spell it out. Yud, Yud Vav Daled, generally speaking. Hey can be spelled out in multiple ways, with an Aleph, with a Yud, with a Hey, etc. Vav could be Vav Vav, and then you can have Vav, Aleph Vav, and so on and so forth. You can have Vav Yud Vav, and then you have the last Hey, which again could be Hey Hey, Hey Aleph, Hey Yud, etc. Now there's 27 different ways to fill out God's name. We're going to talk today about 4. The 4, which is called in the world of Kabbalah, is called Ab, Sag, Ma, and Ban. Now I'm giving it in this order because Ab is, so to speak, the highest, most powerful one, and it's connected to the Yud of God's name. Sag is the second one, which is connected to the Hey of God's name. Ma is connected to the Vav of God's name, and Ban is connected to the last Hey of God's name. That's on one level. Another level, Ab is connected to the world of Atzilus, and we'll soon explain how we get these names of Ab, Sag, Ma, and Ban. Ab is connected to the world of Atzilus, so he's the highest. Sag is connected to the world of Bria, creation. Ma is connected to the world of Yetzira, and Ban is connected to the world of Asiya. Ab, that's on another level, in reference to the worlds. Also in the images, Ab is connected to Abba. Even though Abba generally is referring to Chachma, we're talking about in reference to these four names. Ab is connected to Abba. Sag is connected to Ima, which is the mother. And Ma is connected to Zer and the small face, which again we generally refer to the Midos. And Ban is connected to Nukva, which is referring to generally Malchus. Now, go even deeper. Ab is connected to in the Torah to the Taimim, and the Sag is more than the Kudot, the vowels, and Tag and Ma is more the Tagim, the little dots on top of certain letters, and Ban is the actual letters. In reference to the Neshama, it's also connected. Ab is connected to the Chaya, which is the second highest level of Neshama, right before Yechida. Sag is connected to the level of Neshama. Ma is connected to Ruach. And then Ban is connected to Nefesh. Also in the different elements in the world, Ab is connected to fire, and Sag is connected to water, and Ma is connected to Ruach, and Ban is connected to upper earth. Also in terms of directions, Ab is Durham, south, and Sag is actually north, Ma is east, and Ban is west. Also, in reference to the patriarchs, Ab is connected to Abraham, Sag is connected to Yitzchok, Ma is connected to Yaakov, and Ban is connected to King David. Okay, now, but let's get back to the main point. So, Ab is the highest, Sag is the second, Ma is the third, and Ban is the fourth. Where do they get these names from? So, Ab actually is numerically, Ab is Ayin Beis, 72. Sag is Samach Gimel, so it's 63. Ma is 45, and Ban is 52. Where do they get these numbers from? So the way it works is like this. You take Hashem's name, Yud Hey Vav Hey. So the way the Ab fills out Yud Hey Vav Hey, where you can fill out, it uses primarily the letter Yud, the number 10. So take, for example, Yud. Yud is Yud Vav Dalet. That's the way you spell it out. Hey, so again, we have an option to do Aleph, Hey, Yud. So we do it Hey, Yud. And then we have Vav. We can do Vav, Vav, or Vav, Aleph, Vav, etc. But we do over here Vav, Yud, Vav. And last Hey is Hey, Yud. So if you take Yud, Yud, Vav, Dalet, Hey, Hey, Yud, Vav, Yud, Vav, and Hey, Yud, you get to the numerical value of what? Of 72. And that's how you get to the same Ab. Ab is of two letters, Ayin and Beis, 72. Then you have where you can combine it. What's the combo? So Yud would be Yud, Vav, Dalet. Hey would be Hey Yud, so we're using the letter Yud. Vav, instead of Yud like we did before with the Ab, we're using over here an Aleph, so it's Vav, Aleph, Vav, so we're short 9 already. And then you have Hey Yud. So obviously if you're short 9, you were down to what? 63. So 63 is a mix between what? Between a Yud and an Aleph. The next one we're going to do is actually, we're going to use Alephs. The smallest letter, Aleph. So Yud is Yud Vav Dalet, that's its standard. Hey is Hey Aleph. Vav would be Vav Aleph Vav. And Hey is Hey Aleph. And you get to numerical value, what? Of 45. The last one, Ban, 52, we're going to use Hey. So Yud would be standard, Yud Vav Dalet. Hey would be Hey Hey. Vav would be Vav Vav. And Hey would be Hey Hey. So that's how you have 52. So again, so we have Ab is basically, we use Yuds, there's the letter Yud to fill it out. Sag, we use Yud and Aleph. Ma, you use Aleph. And Ban, you use Hey. Now, so remember this. So Ab is the highest. Sag is the second to the highest. Ma is the third. And Ban is the lowest. Now, let's stay focused on the point I was bringing out. Trevor says, when it comes to transformation, so what's the lowest one of Hashem's name? Ban. So our goal is to elevate Ban. How do you elevate Ban? What's the Hashem's name closest to Ban? The one that's closest to Ban is what? Is Ma. Ma is the one next to it. So Ma, which actually has the Aleph in there, which is more humility, and Ma actually comes from the idea of Ma. What does Hashem want? It's humility. So Ma elevates Ban. And when Ma elevates Ban, it goes to the level of Sag, which is actually higher than Ma. So Ma elevates Ban and elevates it higher than Ma, goes up to the same Sag. So there was just like when Tikkun, which is lower than Tohu, Tikkun has the power to elevate the sparks and Tohu and elevate it higher in the world of Atzilus, just like we find that Ma elevates Ban and brings it up to the same Sag. And this is also the idea of a year which is a leap year. Why? Because when you want to straighten out between the way the moon goes, moon is referring to which is connected to which name of Hashem? Ban. And you want to straighten it out with what? With the name of the sun, which is referring to Ma. So what happens then is you add in a leap year you add more days, and then you elevate it to the same Sag. So the idea of a leap year is not just adding months, etc. It's powerful stuff going on here. You're trying to go ahead and elevate the moon to straighten out with the sun. You're trying to elevate Ban with Ma, and then you elevate it to the same Sag. So that's the whole idea of Aretz Haisa Soyu and Chayshech and Oyer. So seemingly, how can Tikkun elevate Toyu? And here you see the power of Tikkun that could elevate, just like that Ma elevates Ban to Sag, just like a leap year, you elevate it, the moon to the higher level. And everybody finish off and he says like this: it should be the will of Hashem that will come to the promise where it says that the light of the moon, which is lower, which is really Ban, is going to be like it's going to be like the light of the sun, like Shema. And not only that the Shem Ban, which is the lowest one, is going to go higher than Shema. It's going to come to the level of Sag, like it says in the prophets, in the famous, from Shir Hashirim, from King Solomon, we say on Friday night, Eishes Chayil, Ateres Baila, that the wife, which technically is on a lower level, is going to be the crown of her husband. And like it says in the cave at the Save of Government, the female is going to go higher than the male. And then when Mashiach comes, it's going to be fulfilled where it says, we're not going to be concerned about the teacher. On the contrary, Nigla Kvoid Hashem, the glory of Hashem, it's not going to be concealed. The glory of Hashem is going to be revealed, and everyone's going to see together. And what's going to happen then is God is going to be the king, and Hashem will be the king on the whole world. And on that day, what's going to happen is Hashem is going to be one, and His name is going to be one. I mean, it's not going to be like a name that you can say, a name you can say. Everything is going to be revealed. And when is that going to happen? Like the Rebbe finishes off, it's going to happen Ba'Gala Lidan Mamish. Here's another beautiful, powerful, some heavy Kabbalah here in this discourse, learning about different names of Hashem. But you see, it's all in the Torah. It's all in the Torah, and two major points. Number one is that all the Sefirot, that's the tools Hashem uses to create the world. But more importantly, that literally by living a tikkun, a balanced life, we have the power to elevate the holy sparks of Toyu, just like that Ban that gets elevated through Ma. The power to elevate comes from Ma through humility, and you actually bring it to a higher level. And like the Rebbe finishes off, that ultimately we're going to come when Mashiach comes, the world is going to be transformed, and we're going to have the great revelation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and God's willing, our next class will be in Yerushalayim, Ir HaKodesh. Have a great and blessed week. Shavua Tov.